You know, before you prepare for an imminent alien invasion, sometimes you just want to hear a good story. So grab your favorite bowl of cereal and get ready to murder your dog. It's the history of Hydra, Hale edition, on this week's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Season 5, Episode 15. Rise and Shine. Hey everyone, D here, and welcome to this week's review of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. So, as usual, spoilers are a-coming. Alright, so, a little bit of history, a little bit of future, so we got a lot of stuff going on. Really chunky information, all being sort of laid at us, but kind of a good time. I love the little flashback bits. So in fact, let's get started here. I think we'll run through this kind of chronologically. It'll make things a little bit easier. All right, so 28 years ago, 1990. The 90s are coming the new thing here. I mean, we already have, I know, it's not MCU, but X-Men's going in the 90s for Dark Phoenix. If that ever comes out, it got pushed again. But of course, really, we're excited because we have Captain Marvel next year, taking place in the 90s, with Clark Gray cast, return of Coulson. Sorry, I have to throw that out there. That's awesome. Really super excited about that. May give him a little bit more hair. That'll be interesting. Coulson hasn't changed in 30 years. That's the real truth. He looks exactly the same. He knows Whitehall's secret. Which was one of the fun things about our little flashback, is kind of seeing people. I mean, Hale went to school with some big people. We, of course, have Jasper Sitwell back. Young guy. Loved the remark about him getting stuck in middle management, because that's pretty much effectively what happened to him. Also, Von Strucker, as a young kid, certainly causing troubles, as he does later on. I like the fact also that Hale kind of got in trouble for beating the crap out of him. Yeah, Hale, very tough as a kid. You can see sort of where Ruby gets it from there. But of course, we also have Whitehall, who was great to see. Love the little comment there about, yeah, he attacked some alien DNA in order to make himself young again. It was just, you know, again, lots of fun little references. What I really enjoyed about the whole opening bit. But we get to kind of see Hydra Academy. I guess this is where he grew up. Also all the same place. It looks like Ruby's room is the exact same as her mom's room was there. I know, it's like, it's the River Mountain Base or whatever. Who cares? It's Hydra Academy now. That is its official name. So kind of interesting just to sort of see all of those growing up bits. The dog. Come on. Really flashback way back to season 1 with Garrett and how he trained Ward. Gave him the dog, let him become real close, and then before you go, BAM! Gotta take out your own dog. That seems to be just the regular thing here with Hydra. Everybody gets a dog, and everybody has to kill it at the end. Not animal lovers over at Hydra. Also, not really a whole sense of equality in Hydra here. That whole discussion between Hale and Whitehall. That was, I mean, look. Hale's Hydra. Hale Hydra. Yeah, I know Daisy said it before, but Widmark, you said it first, man. And I think Todd, I think you also mentioned that too. So it was right there. How could have missed it anyway? But the whole, I gotta say that one scene where Whitehall is basically destroying Hale's dreams. Basically saying, hi, you're gonna be a breeder. That's what we're taking you in here. Yeah, Handmaid's Tale Hydra edition going on right here. Now, apparently, if we could work the timeline, since we go 2 years later, and that's where Ruby was coming out. It's 28, 26, so what, she had like 10 years? We'll figure out if we're doing an 18-year-old graduation, 10 years, where she got to be, Hale got to be in the Air Force to rise up the ranks before she got pulled back. Does seem to have affected her aim to be an astronaut, though. I mean, they didn't say that specifically, but it was certainly implied that Hydra is basically, look, if you're a guy, you can be tough, you can be in charge, you can be all that you can be. I know that's Army, not Hale, not Hydra. But if you are a woman, no, you're told what to do. So I have to say that was a little heartbreaking to see for Hale right there. But you know, she kind of does all right. But the other bit of information we got there in the past was the particle infusion generator. You fuse any object, any properties of mass into an individual. And the first thing I thought of was Crusher Creel. I was like, is this how he got his powers? Because he's not inhuman. He had to have gotten his powers because, for again, way back in season 2 when he got the diviner crystal, it kind of infected him and he needed Bhakti to sort of reverse. I don't know how he managed to do that with hypnosis or all of his Bhakti's weird stuff. So Creel can't be inhuman, otherwise the diviner wouldn't have affected him at all. So this is the first thing I thought of, and I would like to kind of hear if perhaps that is how Creel ends up getting his powers, maybe as an experiment, one of Von Strucker's early plays with the machine. Certainly not how the twins got, not Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch, because they seem to have gotten their powers from the Mind Stone, from the Scepter, was implied on Age of Ultron there. So anyway, it was just the first thing that I thought of, is that really reminded me of what Creel can do. So I'm wondering if we'll find out at some point that he has some connection with it. But of course, this is the super secret soldier maker. Everyone is always trying to replace Cap, find a new way to make Cap. That is one of the great continual Marvel storylines. I do love that they continually hit on here. Is Captain America was unique, and everybody is constantly trying to do something like that. So 20 years ago, this was Whitehall's early project. Ends up going to Strucker from what Whitehall says there. And of course, now it's what Hale's looking for to make her own destroyer of worlds. But we'll get into that when we get closer to the present. Alright, so Hale was 20 years ago, then we jump to 2 years ago, and we get a little bit of Ruby's story. Again, seems to be the exact same room that Hale was. Different dog, definitely the same plan going on. But here we're really actually, while we do get to see the repetitions of Ruby with her training and that the Hydra Academy at this point is still basically continuing. This is the change point 2 years ago. This is when Gideon Malik got captured by S.H.I.E.L.D, evidently giving everyone up that he can. So that gives everyone the panic call. Then we get to see the little insight there with Fisher before Talbot comes in. Again, looking the same. Maybe a bushier mustache at this point, I think. You know, uniform slightly different. And then this is standard Hale Hydra eats the poison and Hale goes off. Now, there was a couple of real interesting things with this small bit. One, when Hale comes out, I mean, it was nice for Talbot to be like, Hale, you step aside, we're just coming to get Fisher. All right. Yeah, Talbot's not all on top of it, because certainly you can see Hale trying to shove the little codes and information that are a key, perhaps, that it was that Fisher had given her. But we get the idea, okay, that Talbot's come in, cleared out the Hydra agents. But when she comes out, then we get to see Ruby arguing at the other instructor. Sorry, his name forgets me, and it doesn't matter because he's about to die in a second anyway. And I loved her argument about the dog. Why do I have to shoot the dog? I'm the only one left. Why do we have to hit onto this old tradition stuff? And she's got a good point there. We got the old guard holding on to tradition, the way that things are being done. And then we have Ruby, the new youngster, saying, why do we keep doing things that way? That is stupid. Yes, she is talented. Obviously, she has been bred for leadership, as we find out. But there's that certain sense of arrogance that comes with it, and that's sort of what's manifesting here. But I did enjoy that little argumentative scene, because I think Ruby does have a point as everything's falling apart. She's the last one. What, they're going to fail her? They're not going to choose her? But that's where my other question comes in. She's the last one. They took everybody else out. Why is Hale still there? I mean, maybe they don't have specific information, but you would think maybe guilt by association if everybody else in this academy military base weird kid training place is all Hydra. There, in fact, I think was a Hydra flag on the wall. Why didn't they grab Hale? This might have been actually Hydra sexism working for Hale. Because obviously it's a rather paternalistic organization. Maybe you're thinking, well, if you're a woman, you're not going to be, you're not Hydra, obviously. They don't really care to work with women, which isn't true. We have seen plenty of women working with Hydra. But that's the only thing I thought of was like, man, Hydra's sexist. Man, is Hydra's sexism helping Hale out? Because also, if that's true, then there should be a whole lot of Hydra women out there just looking for some connection. And then, look, I think it'd be awesome. A badass group of Hydra women coming to take over. They got their own super evil organization. Yeah, I would totally go with that. And then we're at 6 months ago, where we get to refine General Talbot. Man, I have to say, that really, that warmed my heart. Well, it warmed my heart and it hurt it too, because while I was excited to see Talbot awake and interactive, and he's got some damage. He's got some damage in that whole scene where he's dealing with his kid in the hospital. I mean, you even get that kind of brief moment where he mentions where the nurse comes in and mentions that his family is there. You can see almost a reticence on his face, which I thought played in the next scene perfectly, because of course how happy he is to be with his kid and have his wife there and so on, but he knows he has those impulse control problems. He knows he is reactive. He knows that's part of the damage that's happening with the brain. So I think there was a resistance, like, I want to see my family, but I don't want to embarrass myself. I don't want to hurt them. I don't want to yell at them, which is, of course, exactly what happens. And was really hoping he would get some treatment. We would find out, man, maybe Talbot's going to be popping forward. But no. Hale takes him, drags him off, so we know where he's been for the past 6 months, being tortured by Hale. But the opening bit, well, the same breakfast thing that we saw with Werner von Strucker happening here with Talbot, I thought was great. Complete, you know, scenes all really played off. I love that he feels that he outranks Captain Crunch. It's true, but I like the fact that he acknowledged that. He's having fun. But we see, this is the routine. This is how he turned. Go in, bring him in the food. Ruby comes in, ignores, drags him off, sets him off balance, and then Hale steps in to do their thing. Talbot not buying it, which again, I was also glad. Mind like a steel trap. Most of the time. But several things happening with Talbot that really warmed my heart. One, he knew it wasn't Daisy that shot him. He knew it was an LMD. Man, I love that. Talbot has been so much for and against the team over the years. The fact that he has really jumped and at this point really is embracing S.H.I.E.L.D. I thought really reflective in this scene with him. And I enjoyed seeing that. I enjoyed his character really stepping forward. Even when he is dragged off and he's yelling, "S.H.I.E.L.D's gonna come. Phil Coulson will find me." Ah, man, that hit me right here. That was just, it's so great that he has that confidence, that he believes in it, that he knows that Daisy didn't try and shoot him, that he knows that Phil Coulson will do anything to try and track him down, to try and find him, that he's not going to be left out there. Yes, he doesn't know that Coulson and the rest of the team are in the future at this point. The fact that he believes it and that he sees it, I thought was great. And I think he had the best line of the night. When Hale tries to convert him over to get him joined, and he's just like, "I would rather stand on my 2 feet than slither around on 8 with you." Yes, despite... Yes, we know, cephalopods, not legs, tentacles. Thank you, Ruby, for that biology lesson. But still, just... I love that line. I loved his commitment to it. It's just really sad that, look, everyone breaks. I don't care how tough you are. Everyone breaks. And after 6 months of Hydra torture, Talbot just couldn't hold on. I also kind of enjoyed Hale's and Talbot's little back and forth about growing up Hydra versus growing up as an American. I mean, just you subscribe to the culture that you're raised up in. She's raised in Hydra, therefore that's what she knows, that's what she believes in. Talbot the same way with America and soldiers and the military and all of that. So I like that was sort of thrown out there because it is a really important point. When you are raised up in some way, it's something that sort of Mac, I think, tries to hit with Gemma on later about being in the framework and how your mind all works. I think these are very similar kind of ideas, and I just like the fact that it's brought up. Hale didn't choose to be Hydra, she was born into it. And therefore, that was the belief, that was the structure that she was raised in. You're going to see, whether you're born in Russia, you're in Cuba, you're in Botswana, you're in France, you're in Japan, you're in China, you're in North Korea, you are going to subscribe to the culture that you are raised in. So it doesn't totally make me sympathetic to Hale, but I like that it was brought up. And 24 hours ago, pretty much the present at this point, I guess Daisy and all of them would be the present. So we have Coulson now with Hale, and it was perfect how we had set up, before we saw Werner, and then we saw Talbot, and now we get Coulson coming in, because this is where experience, this is where spycraft, this is where all of that comes into play. I mean, from the very beginning, where he sort of susses out sort of what's going on. By the way, comfy room, Hale, that you're putting him in. Bed and a chair, I think, was all that was in there. But the fact that he knows about S.P.O.I.L.E.R.S and the gravitonium and everything, doesn't necessarily guess Hydra, but knows that this is not Air Force. So this is a perfect point of Coulson relaying his knowledge, his background, and everything. It worked perfectly. Continued on the next morning, where we try Ruby doing the same thing, the same breakfast table, and Coulson is completely nonplussed. It's just like, oh, I'm sorry, was this supposed to throw me off? Is this keep me off balance? You do the same thing? Okay, that's perfect. I can grab my cereal. When we're all done and you guys want a break, I'm going to go, you can tell Hale that I'm having my breakfast. It was, it was done in the perfect Coulson manner. Just very straightforward and matter-of-factly, completely unfazed with going on. Could see through the entire charade. Charade. Charade? Why did I say it that way? Charade. Anyway, so I loved that whole segment. That was just this is why we love Phil. Then we finally get into sort of our history, our real situation. We've got the alien machine, which I guess is how Hale has been transporting. It wasn't sort of some mind thing or projection or anything. Actually traveling to wherever this Confederacy ship is. And we do find out more about the Confederacy. It's a it's a group of aliens, not just the Kree. Which makes sense, because Shadow Guy didn't look Kree. I mean, we couldn't get a good look at him, but he didn't look Kree. Also, love that Coulson just looks at the machine, just like, this is wrong. You get that weird alien writing on it. It's all bad. Again, experience coming into play. But we find out what the sort of deal that's working on, and this does sound very familiar coming back recently from the future. Is, yeah, the Confederacy will help us out. Stop this. Well, I don't know, they didn't actually say to stop the invading aliens or fight on their side. It's like the only way they would survive. So I'm not sure if the Confederacy is really being completely forthright about what's actually going on. But we do have aliens coming. We will survive if we work with the Confederacy, and all they want is gravitonium and inhumans. Sounds familiar. It's pretty much what 90 years from now Cassius is trying to do also. I guess he's already got the gravitonium that he needs, but definitely just going after the genetically bred warriors. Is that how he phrased it? Anyway, so, alright, we get our shot. We also get a shot of the spaceship, and while this is tying into Infinity War, it seems to, we do have invading aliens, we've got Kree involved, we've got a bunch of the players. The ship we saw did not look like Thanos's. We saw Thanos' ship at the end of Ragnarok. This is not what it looked like. This looks a little bit different. Now, this could be warriors accompanying Thanos. This could be part of a armada that is coming. But we don't really know yet. And as far as we know, these ships could actually be the Confederacy, and they're the ones that's coming, and they're using this ruse that there's an invasion fleet in order to make a deal. We don't know the specifics here, so there's lots of possibilities. However, and this is when we get to our Scene of the Week. There were a lot of potential choices this week. I'm picking this one. As soon as Coulson comes back and the whole rest of his bit, because it is pretty much one moment. The fact that he's questioning Hale, and Hale immediately turns around with like, yeah, I don't think they're going to keep the deal. I was always planning to betray them. This is what I need you for. And suddenly, maybe working with Hydra isn't too bad. Of course it is. And there only seems to be 2 of them. Again, it just seems to be Hale and Ruby, and then a bunch of LMDs that aren't even really LMDs anymore. They're just like robot warriors. Hale needs the help, I think, more than S.H.I.E.L.D. does. But of course, Coulson immediately grits it. He sees the bigger picture. Hale keeps talking about you need a higher viewpoint. Coulson sees the bigger picture. So he knows. So he's immediately in it. What do we do? What are they going on? What's the plan? Looking for the particle infusion generator, and that's Whitehall. And Coulson here, perfect, with the, yeah, I put him in the ground. Go team! Yes, that's awesome. But then we find out, of course, Ruby's the one bred, one in the particle generator. That's the thought, but no, she doesn't have the temperament. Let's put Daisy in there. That's why we need Coulson. And it's the immediate turnaround there. It's so perfect because we get the, we can't work together, then, right, maybe we need to work together, and then the, are you crazy, we can't work together moment. Because, of course, you're not going to infuse Daisy with infusing anyone with gravitonium. Actually, why don't you just let Crusher Creel touch it? That would solve all of these problems. However, he's not technically the destroyer of worlds. Thanks, Whitehall. See, Hydra has a titling problem. It's not like the Power Man, the Super Suit, the next step in evolution. No, the Destroyer of Worlds. Let's just give it a big, demonic, scary title. That's what Hydra is really all about. Big, scary titles. But of course, that's not going to happen. Coulson tells her the truth about the future, and she immediately rejects it. That's the best part. She throws out all of this craziness. This wild, well, I mean, she was able to back up some of her story, but come on, she kidnapped Coulson. Even if he had any evidence, he doesn't have it on him, and he can't totally trust her. But immediately, she doesn't even consider it for a moment. She doesn't even continue the conversation. Immediately assumes that he's lying, that he's non-cooperative, and then boom, sends him off. Pretty much to probably what happened with Talbot. And again, just sad to see that. Sad to see that last little moment with Talbot. I know this was before, but that was just, I gotta say, he's broken. So happy to see Coulson, but so apologizing he had to tell him. Why? Because he's been tortured for 6 months. Like I said, everyone breaks. And now it might be Coulson's turn. And now I'm going to try and go fast to see that things are going really long right now. So we've got May, Fitz, and Daisy. Again, this was the other almost scene of the week, the one that we had between Daisy and Fitz, because that was beautiful. I loved May asking Fitz to embrace his we have our own supervillain. That's kind of mean to Fitz, isn't it? But the idea is she's asking him to embrace that part of him. They need to be thinking outside the box. They need to be seeing things different ways. They need to know how Hale is thinking. Also, love the idea they've already figured out that Hale is Hydra. It's just awesome. Such a good team. But a great bit between Daisy and Fitz. Fitz, unapologetic. Well, no, he's apologetic, but not. He's sorry that it had to go this way, but he was right. It would have gotten worse, most likely. He felt he did what he had to do, And if he had asked Daisy if she would do it, she would have refused. So, I mean, really, Fitz kind of being very clear, very committed to what his choices were. And like he said, he's not really sorry. He would have done it again. He's just sorry that it had to go that way. And a sick burn on Daisy, too, when they're talking about, you're Hydra, which is cruel. It's true, you're Hydra, Fitz. Come on, he's been through a lot. He's making tough choices. But her line is, we don't turn on our friends, and he just throws right back, perfect. How many times do I have to point out when you did that? Do I have to name how many times and circumstances that you turned on the team? Because she has, quite a number of times. And even she felt that, because that was, and they turn and walk away. Total burn. I don't agree with going after Robin. I think this is going to get Robin's mom killed. But we are starting to see Daisy stepping into that leadership role, and I'm surprised that May is putting her in that. I know that's sort of how Coulson sees her, but May really should be the next person in charge. She has the most experience, and she has the most level head, which I think is really what they need right now. But overall, like I said, that whole sequence I thought was beautifully done. And of course, that was fed into our brief little moments with Gemma and Mac. I thought that it was very sweet. Yo-Yo's arms are looking good, aren't they? Can't wait to see that reveal. Actually, I've seen the pictures. Jump onto Twitter on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D's Twitter feed. They've got some great shots for those arms. Look awesome. But I love, see, this is where we get that real interesting back and forth here about the future and taking chances. Because Mac is trying to tell Gemma, Yo-Yo thinks that she's invincible because she knows that she comes up in the future, and he recognizes the danger. Remember, Mac is the movie watcher. Mac knows. He's like, what's his name in Scream? Jamie Kennedy's character, who knows all the rules of horror. Mac's the same way. He knows about killer robots, what you don't do. He knows you don't split up when there's aliens in charge. He knows that when you think you're invulnerable, that's when bad things happen. They are trying to break the loop, so you don't know at what stage you might do that, and therefore your invincibility is suddenly just vincibility. And that gives Gemma, I love her response, interesting. And that's what leads to our little final scene there with her and Fitz. I love the passing on of the little multi-tool with the scratched idea, with the little scratched numbers. Perfect. Love the fact that she just goes ahead and tells Fitz. Again, secrets aren't being kept here. And we're in an episode before these things are being relayed onward. So I thought that was super cool. Fitz's line about, we're going to have a daughter who's going to have a deek. Her son's going to be a deek. Yeah, okay, sure, a little Scottish accent. Could be implying something else there. That was awesome. But this is where we have Gemma with the line is, one, there's confidence that the two of them are going to make it, that they're going to get past this, which was great. Downside, of course, being is she's thinking they're invulnerable. Now, there were several comments last week about Gemma throwing up at the end, which, come to think of it, yes, that could be morning sickness. She could be pregnant. Didn't see morning, she wasn't waking up, but they've had a rough time, could be hitting her at any point. That nausea could be a sign of her being pregnant. Now we know from Yo-Yo's discussion, from our little flashback scene where we had Robin and everything like that, Day in the Life, that Fitz survives because he has to go on to build the time machine, or set up the building of the time machine, design it basically. However, if to continue on this thread, all they need is to have a daughter for Deke's life to be guaranteed. If Gemma's pregnant now, Fitz might be a lot more vulnerable than he thinks, or than she thinks. Because if she's already pregnant, then he's done his time duty in that sense. They could potentially find someone else to build the time machine. But that may make Fitz more vulnerable. So, again, cautionary, when people think that they're safe, it's usually when they're not. And lastly, one quick thing I wanted to hit on, Talbot's injury. the way that they were describing it, the frontal lobe and the damage that was done, I just kept thinking of Fitz. You know, Fitz had pretty serious damage, and he was able to recover. And I'm wondering if we might get something like that. That Talbot can be finally rescued, and that Fitz can use his experiences to help Talbot recover. And therefore maybe kind of help Fitz step away from that Hydra label and a bit more, well, away from being looked at as the Doctor and more as being Fitz. All right, well, I think that wraps things up. Looks like it's going to be torture time next week for Coulson. Not looking forward to seeing that. However, a lot of Coulson stuff going on. I hope you guys did notice. Drop the video I told you I've been working on for a couple of weeks, that Phil Coulson has to die to be reborn in Infinity War. There's a lot of clues that have been dropped out. I think Coulson's injury, because it's how he died in the Avengers, may be the link of him actually appearing in Infinity War. Know that he's cast in Captain Marvel and they've just left to film. He's gone. But it's still another couple of weeks before Infinity War comes out, and we know the shawarma scene was shot not long before the film, before Avengers came out. During, it was not one of the premieres, something else. I think it was a photo op that they were going to, that the costumes to go shoot. So entirely possible that the first stop Clark Gregg makes isn't the set of Captain Marvel, but still a blue screen, still a small set where he can jump in and shoot the scene that I think could appear in Infinity War. Maybe, maybe not. I could be reaching for it, but it's a lot of fun. Go ahead and check that out. I'll throw that up here at the end, a nice little link. Anyway, that's going to wrap us up. I know we went long today. Thank you so much for your patience. As usual, if you did enjoy my ramblings, please go ahead and hit that like button. Thoughts, ideas, comments, you know where to put them. Section below. Been trying to catch up on all of your comments there, but working on this video ate up days. That's why I look like I haven't slept all week, because I haven't. But I will get to them. Thank you so much for your patience. You can always catch me on Twitter and Instagram. I am at Darren Jakes. And if you're not a subscriber, please subscribe. Just hit this button, and I'm going to throw our Coulson Has to Die video right here, and then another random one you can check out right here. Anyway, that's it for me. I'm D, and I'm out of here. Catch you guys next time. Bye-bye.